What's up, everybody? Had some decent action today. As you can see, we had a pretty steady uptrend all day. Was one that was kind of hard to play. Couldn't really find a good entry, but I had a couple plays. Two that didn't work out, one that did. That luckily offset my two losses. I'll get into that here in a bit. But going into the day, we had a couple supply zones around the 3,900 area that we were looking to test and reject or rip right through. I didn't want to predict before, just wanted to react whenever we got into those zones. Now we had a couple of demand zones here on the bottom, which we'll go ahead and start off with. So actually before they open, we had a couple demand zones. We had this 90-minute zone here at about 38.42. And then we had I think there's a 30 that I don't have, 30 or 45, let's see. 45 that I'll go ahead and draw out. Right here at about 35.60. Now this got updated to a 90-minute zone after the 9 o'clock candle close, so I'll update that here in a bit. But before the open, I was looking for a possible entry here. Those are the two demand zones, and below that we have a good 4-hour here at about 38.04. Then on the supply side, we have three supply zones right around the 3,900 area. We'll start with the closest, which is a couple 45-minute zones. One that was created at the sell-off yesterday when Apple came out and said they're going to stop or start slowing down their hiring for 2023, and that one's at 38.90. Another 45 that we created in the pre-market before the open yesterday at 39.01, and actually rejected off of that a couple times, 1, 2, and then yesterday the first 4 hours was pretty tame before the Apple news came out and sold it off, but we did reject off of that a little bit. So those two were intact. And then above that, we have a 90-minute supply zone that we rejected off of a couple times in the past couple weeks. Here's a close-up of that 90-minute candle from probably close to a month ago at this point. Zoom in here, we had one good rejection here. That was a quick rejection. The following day, a couple weeks ago, we had a couple other rejections here before tumbling down, and that started a big move down to the lower 3700s from about 3900, 3920 here. We almost rejected off of it yesterday morning, didn't quite get there. So that one still is intact, and it's a big zone that goes all the way to 39.50. And so that's kind of why it was hard to play long today, because we were in this big zone, and technically still are. But no, we didn't hit 39.50 yet, so it's not broken yet. But so it's tough to play long, even though I did. But we'll get into that here in a bit. And then we have a 30-minute zone here at 39.50 that we reject off a couple times. Didn't quite get there though. But these three zones were three zones that I was looking for to possibly go long or short off of if we got there today before the open. Overnight lows here at 38.34. As always, overnight lows start and highs anytime after midnight Eastern time. And so if you look at the bottom here, I'm in military time, but we're at 23. So anytime after this 23, which is midnight Eastern time, that's when the overnight lows and overnight highs start. So the overnight lows from that point on was 38.34. Overnight highs were right before the open at 38.78. All right, let's go ahead and kick it off. Let me get this candle out of the way. All right, so first off, we didn't really know what, like any day, we don't really know what to expect, right? I knew there were no scheduled big events for this morning. In the afternoon, I knew we had Netflix earnings report that was on deck. So I wasn't sure, if I was going to speculate that we were going to have a balanced day because investors were just waiting for that earnings report to come out before we get a big move. So wasn't really expecting such a strong uptrend or downtrend, really, just because I figured investors were going to wait for that earnings report to come out, but that wasn't the case. But that was in my mind before the open here. So other than that, I think Netflix was the only big company with the earnings report after the bell. I know we have Tesla tomorrow, I believe they are after the bell, not before the bell. So that'll be a big one that will probably move the market, so be aware of that. All right, so we open up. Let me zoom in here. Open up right around close to 38.80, and we're not in a supply or demand zone. And as always, if you watch my previous videos, I really don't take any trades unless they're in a supply or demand zone. And at that point, I'll take a look at the volume, take a look at the volume price analysis, and see if buyers are in charge, sellers are in charge, and we'll go long or short, depending on that situation whenever we actually get inside one of these zones. So I'm not looking for any trade right here because we weren't even really close to a demand zone or supply zone. I was kind of hoping to get price to fall down over here, and then if it looked good as it got down here, go long. But we didn't get that. So for the first 30 minutes or so, we kind of balanced between 38.70s, upper end of 38.80s, and then right before 9 o'clock, we ripped up to 38.85, broke overnight highs, and then at 9 o'clock, we have a lot of candles that close. We have the 3-hour that closes. We have the 90-minute that closes, the hour, 45-minute, 30-minute, 15-minute, 10-minute, and 5-minute. And so at 9 o'clock, I go through all those and see on this rip or dip, depending on what happened, if we created a demand zone. Sure enough, at the 90 minutes candle or time frame, we did create a demand zone here. And so now that 45-minute demand zone is now a 90-minute demand zone, right? So I'm going to go ahead and label this 90-minute. And that's at about 38.66. And so at that point, now I'm hoping we can get price come back down here, see if there's some strength, see if buyers step up and go long there. As you can see, we did not get that. We actually just kept on crawling up and got into this first supply zone at 38.90. Now at this point, okay, it's in a supply zone. It's not an automatic short, right? Not an automatic long, obviously, because it's a supply zone. But we're waiting for more information to see how price and volume react to this zone. As we get up here, here's the first 5-minute candle, pretty good volume. Second 5-minute candle is a nice sell volume, and it's a low 5-minute sell volume. So what that tells me right off the get-go is we kind of have low selling. And then after that, this isn't too bad. And I will say at this point, obviously we're in a strong uptrend, right? So if I'm even considering going short, I want to see a previous higher low get taken out. I want to see, let's see price. If we're struggling right here, I want to see price come back down to about 38.85, take out this previous higher low, show me that sellers are still there, and then come up with low buying volume for me to get a short entry. And at that point, my risk is lower. I can risk this previous high here, and my reward is higher, which we didn't get there. So I'm not sure what my reward would have been at that point. But we didn't get that. We got this low 5-minute selling. We got some more decent buying. It was actually on the lower end, but we were still way above the previous higher low, right? So didn't even think about shorting. So at that point, if you want to go long, have at it. I didn't do it. I didn't feel good about going long with all these supply zones stacked up on top of each other. But you definitely could have done that, and it would have worked out because we just kept on grinding up. So this 45-minute zone is now gone. Now into this next 45-minute zone at 39.01, similar. We get up here, we get some selling, as you can see with this upper wick, but not a whole lot of selling volume. This next candle tried to sell off. Buyers stepped up, bought it up, and that volume wasn't too strong. So it's actually on the lower end. So I kind of see that as a low selling candle because it was almost red. And then at that point, it continued up, broke it. So no reason to short there either. And then of course, even if this was decent selling, and even if we did get low 5-minute buying after that, I still want to see a previous higher low get taken out. And here's a closer look on the 1-minute chart. We didn't get that. And so didn't even think about shorting here, so it's gone. Again, you probably could have gone long here and been fine. Then at that point, we're into this key 39.13 90-minute supply zone. Like I said, we rejected off it a couple times the past couple weeks. And so this is where I was looking, too short. I wasn't biased, but I was looking to short because I figured we would have a hard time on it. I wanted to see, like I said, strong selling come in. I wanted to see a previous high low get broken before I even considered it. But we got a good touch here at 10:30, It did reject on some decent selling volume. I mean, it wasn't too strong, but it was consecutive 3 5-minute candles here. Low buying on the way up here, and we actually did make a lower high. Now, if that fits your strategy, go ahead and take a short. You could have got, I don't know, close to 10 points here. As I said, I didn't want to short here because buyers are clearly in control. I wanted to see a previous higher low get taken out. And at this point, you can see this higher low, which is right here on the 5-minute chart and right here on the 1-minute chart. This was the previous higher low. It did get taken out. So at that point, I'm intrigued and I'm getting ready to short. I want to make sure that the buying volume is weak. Now, we do get a low 5-minute buying right after that, and I take a short off of that. So if you guys aren't aware, my candles, my volume at the end of the day is usually a mess. I have circles and squares everywhere. I highlight the circles as low volume candles. So I basically am biased long in regards to at least what my circles and squares are down here. So circles are good for longs, meaning selling is weak, and squares are a bad situation for longs, meaning buying is weak. And so at this point, we have some decent sell volume, right? We've already made a lower high. We've already taken out the previous higher low, confirmed that buying volume is on the weaker side, and so that's actually where I take my short. Right here, it was around 39.05, but here's technically another lower high. So I took my short somewhere around, it was 39.05, I believe it was right here though, not here. So I basically bought the bottom, or shorted the bottom, which isn't great obviously. But I was risking the high of day at 39.14, 39.15, and with my eyes to take profits. This was the next demand zones. I wasn't going to wait all the way down there, but I wanted a good 10-15 point drop to around 38.90 to take some profits there. But we didn't get that. I mean, it just grinded straight up with not a whole lot of sell volume on the 1-minute chart, and then went ahead and broke it, stopped me out. So I was stopped out there. So at that point, I'm down 10 points for the day. I'm trying not to overreact, right? Trading's all about emotion, so I'm still staying calm. I mean, I trust my strategy. I know in the long run it's going to work. So, I'm still just, waiting for another good entry throughout the day if I do get it. But at this point, we're back into this 39.13 big wide supply zone. We're continuing up. We're getting some good consolidation over this previous resistance, right? We had some resistance at 39. 39.14, 39.15, right around here. Let me just make this a little cleaner. All right, another thing, I'll draw clear gray boxes for support and resistance zones. So we had some resistance up here, right? Typically, resistance turns into support once we break it. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. We had some healthy consolidation for almost an hour here over this previous resistance inside the supply zone. Whenever you're consolidating inside a supply zone, it typically means that supply zone is not going to hold. And that's actually where I went long. So we were consolidating above 39.15. We had one touch at 39.15, two touches, three touches, which, like I said, was the high of day. And so right around here, I actually went long. I was just going to risk 39.15 for risking a couple points. Wanted to see if it would continue up. It actually went up, and then let me go ahead and circle where I went long. So I don't know. I went long somewhere around here, risking the break of the support here. And it went up, and then actually came back down and stopped me out. So I lost a couple points there, so I'm down about 12 or 13 points for the day. We come down, we touch, we're still in the previous resistance zone using it as support. We just wanted to come down, I guess, one more time before ripping up. So I saw this touch. I saw some decent volume come in right here on the 5-minute chart. You can see some heavy, not heavy, but at least compared to previous volume here, we had some decent 5-minute buying volume come in here. So I did go long. I went long at about 39.16. I don't know, right here, risking 4 points again, small risk. And, really with eyes to 39.50 because we were holding the supply zone pretty good. The next supply zone isn't until 39.50. Figured we might just grind right through it. And we kind of did. And I'll get to where I exited here shortly. But From this point, so I'm long 39.16. We're grinded up. We're inside the supply zone. We're not seeing a whole lot of selling volume, which is another reason why I decided to go long. The only thing I didn't like about this was the uncertainty with Netflix earnings after the bell. I wasn't sure how investors were going to react. I wasn't sure if we were going to just grind right through it like I wanted to, but decided, hey, my risk is low. I'm just going to go ahead and let this ride and see if we can touch 39.50. So it was kind of hair pulling for the next, I don't know, 3 hours. The next hour is actually a pretty easy grind to 39.40, 39.38. Thought about taking profits here, but I like sticking to my strategy. Hey, if my profit target was 39.50, I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. Or unless it's right before the open or right before the closing bell, and then I'll go ahead and sell at that point because I'm not going to risk the Netflix earnings because earnings are always a gamble. So not going to play that. I'm not going to hold for that because it can dump, it can rip, which would have been ideal if I was long, but I've seen it dump plenty of times, so wasn't going to hold that. Anyway, so I was going to take profits either at 39.50 or right before the closing bell. So we got a quick rip to 39.40 almost, and then just consolidated for the next really 2 hours, which was, I don't know, kind of frustrating for me. I wanted a quick touch to 39.50 to take my profits there and not sit through all this all afternoon. I made the dumb decision of just go ahead and watch it the whole time instead of just having my stop loss in place and orders in place if it got to 39.50. But overall, it just consolidated within 39.40, upper 39.20s for the next couple hours. Not a whole lot of selling volume. You can see some selling volume on the 5-minute chart. But if you look at the larger time frames, which I like looking at the 15. Not a whole lot of selling volume. Same with the 30, 45. Not a whole lot there. So I was comfortable holding it, which is what I did. So at the end of the closing bell, let's see. We got a good push about 30 minutes before the bell to 39.43. Didn't sell. And ended up just selling right like a minute or two before the closing bell, right around, I don't know, 39.37. You can tell selling kind of came in here, but we were just consolidating. Like I said, I didn't want to wait until 3 o'clock Central Time when the market closes, and then that Netflix earnings report comes in here and drops it or rips it, whatever. Obviously at this point I was down 12, 14 points after my first 2 plays. So I'm happy with a 20-point play here, just to be up about 6 points for the day. More than happy with that, even if we didn't get to my 39.50 profit target. But so overall, pretty good day. Just a steady uptrend, but it was just confusing a little bit here because we're in this wide supply zone. I wasn't sure how we would react with this wide zone and with the Netflix earnings after the bell. A couple of mysteries there, which gave me, I don't know, a little bit of confusion, but I decided to stick with my plan. We're in a supply zone, selling's not too strong, so go ahead and go long, right, and risk the previous low, which luckily I bought it on the lower end here. So the previous low for me was like 39.12. So my risk was low, reward high, and that's the name of the game. So no demand zones touched. We made a demand zone here. We made a couple demand zones. See, we made a nice 30 here at 39.20. I think there was a 45 right here at 39.07. We just never came back and touched it. On the supply side, we had those 3 that we already went over that we touched, but no demand zones touched, just all supply zones. So we just kind of grinded right through them. But overall, pretty good day. Like I said, Tesla earnings is tomorrow, so we'll see how that plays out. But we're looking pretty good on the bull side. Every strong rally year to date has been met with selling. As you can see here, you can see here, you can see here, you can see here. So right now, things do look pretty good, but we're kind of just balancing between a big range here in the upper 3900s to lower 3700s. So we very well may reject off of this and come back down. Who knows? But bulls are actually looking good right now. So if you're long bias, that's good for you. But hope you guys had a good day today. I'm going to try to continue making videos every now and then. It's been a while since I made one before today, but I'm going to try to get back into it. And hope you guys are trading well. See y'all later.